Footballers who almost died. In the blink of an eye, life takes unexpected turns. One minute you're playing football, the next, you're in a Ferrari going 150 miles an hour, and boom! It crashes. This was Cristiano Ronaldo's story. Get ready for a journey into the unknown stories of football players that almost died. Ronaldo. Back in 2009, just 3 days after buying his dream car, Ronaldo had a very fatal accident. The story goes like this. On the day of the incident, he overslept and missed an early practice his coach called for after a tough Manchester loss. We all know Ronaldo takes his game seriously, and he was not going to jeopardize his reputation and commitment to football for a mere 20 minutes to get across the city. So, you know what he did? He hopped into his latest Ferrari and zoomed off. But little did he know that the wheels of fate were about to spin in a chilling direction. Crazy, man! Ronaldo was only just at the beginning of his career. It was such a surreal moment, as if destiny had intervened to give him a second chance at life. And from that point onwards, he made it his life's mission to make the most of that miraculous escape and to become the greatest soccer player the world had ever seen. Neymar. Speaking of miracles, if you were Neymar, you'd know you're blessed because even before his career took off, it nearly never began. One fateful day, fate had something else in store for the 4-month-old star. Neymar's father was driving his family to visit relatives when it started raining heavily. As Neymar's father was struggling to see, he saw a car coming and quickly wanted to swerve. And before you know it, their lives hung by a thread and everyone got injured except that baby Neymar was nowhere to be found. Where was Neymar? They were nearly forced to conclude that the force of the impact had thrown him out of the car. But against all odds, Neymar survived, blessed with a second chance at life. He was found covered in blood after a shard of glass cut deep into his forehead. And so, the story of Neymar's incredible journey began and has continued to inspire millions, proving that miracles do happen. Raul Jimenez. Next, we're taking a stop on the road of inspiring recoveries. Let's move on to Raul Jimenez's harrowing incident on the pitch. This story takes us back to October 2021. We got this epic Wolves versus Arsenal match, and Raul Jimenez was all fired up and ready to take on Arsenal. But David Luiz wasn't just going to stand and watch, so they fought tooth and nail for possession. The tension reached its peak when they collided in one of their battles in the air. Luiz recovered swiftly, but Jimenez lay unconscious. This triggered an immediate and desperate need for emergency medical attention. Jimenez was swiftly rushed to the hospital, but the news from the doctors was heartbreaking. He was in really bad shape, with a serious brain injury, a broken skull, and internal bleeding, making the surgery an urgent and life-or-death situation. In the operating room, the skilled doctors were giving it their all to save Jimenez's life, and they sadly told his family that the injury might mean the end of his football career. Yet, Jimenez, with his warrior heart, refused to surrender. Enduring a grueling 9-month recovery, he emerged stronger, determined to return to the pitch. Messi. Moving on to another GOAT, a player who had a brush with life and death on the field, is none other than Lionel Messi. Only that it was him trying to do the unthinkable that nearly cost him his life. It was a Champions League night that would forever be etched in history for more than just a game. Barcelona was going up against Juventus and was trailing by 3-0 in the first leg. So, Messi knew the game would have to be decided by not just victory, but life or death. So as soon as the kickoff whistle blew, Messi ran onto that field and was prepared to die on the line. They fought like warriors, putting their might into it, but crazy enough, not a single point was scored. Just as the half was ending, Messi pulled off one hell of a move that almost cost him everything. The doctors later figured out that if he had landed just 2 millimeters higher, that neck injury would have been the end of him. Wow! So, even though Barcelona lost, Messi got lucky as hell to escape that one alive. Demba Ba. Moving on to a different part of the football world, this is the sad story of another player who faced danger and looked it in the eye. This is the story of Demba Ba. Demba Ba used to play for Newcastle and Chelsea, but later on, He went to China to play for Shanghai Shenhua. One day, while he was playing a big match against Shanghai SIPG, something terrible happened. His leg shattered in the most painful way. It wasn't a minor thing. His leg couldn't handle it, and he fell down in pain. His coach, Gregorio Manzano, was worried that this bad injury might end Ba's career. He said he would rather lose the game than lose Ba. It was a tough situation. Even though Demba Ba was a strong player and had scored many goals, he had to face this unfortunate turn of events. And while Messi's story had a twist of luck, Ba's story is a reminder that sometimes the game can bring unexpected challenges and heartbreak. Speaking of heartbreaks and crazy injuries, let's talk about this Marcelo's tackle on Luciano Sanchez. Marcelo, returning to his homeland in Brazil, found himself in the midst of a Copa Libertadores match in Buenos Aires. As he dribbled past Sanchez, a fateful misstep occurred. His leading foot missed the ball and instead collided forcefully with Sanchez's chin. The outcome was ghastly. Sanchez's leg bore a ghastly break, a sight that struck fear into everyone's heart. After diagnosis by health officials, he was said to have a complete dislocation alongside the fracture. Marcelo was so devastated by the incident, my man left the field in tears. Aww. After the match, he took to social media, penning a somber note. Today, I confronted an exceedingly challenging moment on the field. I inadvertently inflicted harm upon a fellow player. Luciano Sanchez, I extend my deepest wishes for a swift recovery and send you unyielding strength. Fernando Torres. Transitioning to a different kind of incident, Fernando Torres faced a terrifying head injury during a match against Deportivo La Corona. It's the 85th minute, and Torres is in the middle of an aerial duel with Alex Bergantinos. Boom! Disaster strikes and he falls heavily. And man, it was very terrifying. His Atletico Madrid teammates, Gabi and Saim Versalico, rushed to help him as he choked on his own tongue, unconscious and in grave danger. Everyone had to act swiftly, calling for immediate medical support. The medical staff rushed onto the field and treated Torres only for several tense minutes to pass while the crowd held their breath. The situation was so emotional that it moved both the teammates and fans to tears. Torres was carefully taken off on a stretcher and rushed to the hospital in an ambulance. The heroic actions of Gabi and Versalico, who forcefully opened Torres' mouth to prevent choking, will never be forgotten. Fernando spent the night in the hospital undergoing thorough tests, but scans revealed no traumatic alterations or injuries. He was advised to rest for 48 hours. He later took to Twitter to thank everyone for their care and support, assuring them it was just a scare. Phew. Eriksen. And finally, in one of the most heart-stopping moments in football history, in the opening game of Euro 2020, Christian Eriksen and his Denmark team were up against Finland. See, Eriksen is Denmark's star man, so coming into this one, he had all eyes and hopes behind him. But in the 41st minute of the game, Eriksen started running funny, and all of a sudden he fell on the spot and died. Tears were everywhere. Eriksen's wife couldn't believe it. We all couldn't believe it too. As we all watched, we prayed and hoped for a miracle to happen, but nothing happened. They tried CPR, mouth to mouth, but still nothing. All hope was lost until Christian came back to life thanks to the help of the defibrillator. Eriksen got charged back to life, and when asked about what he remembered, he even admitted that he died. I remember it all, except for those few minutes that I was in heaven. What a miracle! Eriksen came back, and because of this injury, FIFA made sure that every stadium has emergency defibrillators on site. As the curtains fall on these remarkable stories of footballers who almost met their fate, we are left with a profound sense of gratitude for the second chances life granted them. Which story touched you the most? Kindly let us know in the comments section.